So I see that there are two people who are joining us right now on the text-only option, or at least the non-webcam option. My name is Jason, and in about 10 minutes here we'll get started. If you have a chance, go ahead and just type in the little text chat area off to the side just to let me know who you are, that you're here. If you don't see a text chat area, you can move your mouse over to the left-hand side, and there's a little text chat bubble that you can click to turn on the chat area. But just wanted to say hi, see that I see a couple of you here, and we'll get started here in a little bit.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Karen. How are you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Karen?
You there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll get started here in just a little bit.
All right. Will I need to take notes, you think?
You're welcome to. You won't need to, in the sense that I'll follow up with notes for you afterwards. But if you have anything unique, by all means, feel free.
Thank you.
All right. So, Karen, just to let you know, there's actually one or two people who are actually watching this online but not participating with their own webcam. So it's not just you and me, if that means anything to you. And then I know that there's a couple other people who said that they're going to be joining online, and then possibly a couple people that will be joining me face-to-face here as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and wait until the 1 o'clock hour rolls around, and then we can get started, even if it seems like it's just you and I. In reality, it isn't.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, it is the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, I know there's a couple of people who are watching online. Hey! And a couple of people who are joining face-to-face, so we'll go with that. So Again, my name is Jason Mock. I'm the guy that has been pestering you via email so much for the last few weeks, and I will continue to do so. That's part of my job as the lead Coursera instructional designer for the University of Illinois, which is a fancy way of saying that I'll be the main point person for this project, kind of helping shepherd everything along from beginning to end, and then also answering any questions along the way and making sure that you have the information you need, and that I can get the information from you that we need as well. Carrie is, I believe, still in China, so unable to join us today, but I have a couple of comments from him that I'll pass along here in a moment. But before I do that, I figure we can, those of us who are on either face-to-face or on the web, we can introduce ourselves and go from there. So we'll start in the physical room here with Colleen.
Hi, my name is Colleen Cook, and we run the Instructional Resources Unit here at the University of Illinois. And what our unit does is we kind of work with different departments to build curriculum materials for their online courses, for their MOOCs. So for the purposes of this course, we'll be working closely with you to develop all of your video content. That might mean working with people on your campuses just to make sure we have consistency and quality. Or we might be helping you design the content on your own. So we look forward to working with you, and if you have any questions, any technical questions as we go through this, we're more than happy to help.
All right, thank you, Colleen. Karen, do you want to introduce yourself for the record?
Sure, I'm Karen Ford, a professor and department head at the University of Oregon. I specialize in modern poetry.
Excellent. And then for those who are watching currently but not participating via webcam, we'll just say hi and go from there. All right. So, today what I want to cover is a little bit about the context of this course so that you have a better understanding of kind of the bigger picture, and then walk through some of the details about how we will organize the process here. Hey, come on in. I'm Jason, by the way.
Hi, Jason. Ricky.
Ricky, nice to meet you.
To meet you.
This is Colleen.
Hi,
She's
Colleen.
the video.
Sorry, I'm late.
No worries at all. No worries. So again, I'm just going to give some context of the course as a whole and about MOOCs in general with regards to this course, and then go through the process that we'll use, and then we'll wrap up with some next steps. First of all, after today's session, I will be sending out an email to everyone who attended either today or any of the other times that we had this webinar with some details about what we've talked about today, kind of a summary of everything that we've said, some next steps, a recording to the last webinar anyway, so that you can go back and reference that, and a few other resources as well. So feel free to take notes if you wish, but otherwise I'm going to send you some notes from what we're talking about today as well. Carrie, when he was here for the first webinar, mentioned a few things that I thought I would pass along. I also will afterwards pass along a recording of his remarks. And two things that stood out to me about what he said was that one, if you saw the sample recording that we sent out, the sample lecture, it was trying to show you a couple of the different styles, some of the capability that we have here at Illinois to make your content look good. And so, he mentions not feeling limited to that. We have other ways in which we can do this, but we wanted to give you a sense of what this could be like. And I hope that the sense you got was this could be really, really cool. There's a lot of things that we can do that we're really excited about. There's other options as well that we can talk about too. So don't feel limited to what you saw, but just feel empowered by what you saw. And then the other comment that he had, and he can say it much better than I can, was that individually you can all look at this from a couple of different ways. You could look at it from like an altruistic, you're kind of giving back to the world, you're doing this on behalf of poetry and making everybody excited about it. And you can also do it for selfish measures as well, getting your name out there, getting the poems and poets that you're talking about out there with some more exposure. So his comment is, take either or take both. It's up to you as far as how you want to approach this project. But there's a lot of different motivations that you can bring to the table. Obviously, a lot of expertise that you can bring to the table that we're interested in sharing with the world through this project. So that's what I think makes this really, really cool, this project as a whole. We're talking about over 20 different instructors collaborating together on a single course. I don't know when that's happened ever, let alone in the MOOC space, so I think there's some really, really interesting uniqueness to this course in contrast to pretty much any other course that I've seen. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope you are too. Just to give a sense of context, MOOCs, massive open online courses, as you may know, are freely available courses to anyone in the world who has an email address, basically. And actually, you can fake your email address and it doesn't check, so you don't even need that. Just access to the internet. And Coursera is one of the 3 largest providers of the MOOC platform, the technology behind much of how the MOOCs are delivered. And Illinois partnered with Coursera in July of 2012. Since then, we have offered 8 different courses, a total of 25 times, and there are many more in the works. And these courses have largely been, unique in some way, whether they have offered content with a different flavor than the on-campus courses, or in this case, we have multiple instructors. So each of them have been unique. And what we hope to bring to this particular project is some of the lessons that we've learned along the way, as far as what makes a MOOC successful, how to get the process from start to end, and everything like that. So just wanted to give you a little bit of context that we've done this enough to know at least how to start this conversation, but at the same time we recognize that you all are going to have different needs, different ideas, and so I hope you do see it as a two-way conversation so we can explore different ideas and make this even better as a result. Our goal at the University of Illinois, since there are 21 or 20-some instructors, is to make each of you look as good as possible and to burden you as little as possible with regards to the work at hand. And so part of what I'm going to explain today is how we are setting up a process that should make this whole experience as quick and painless as possible for you, and at the same time how we're going to be able to take that effort on your end and amplify it through some of the services that we can provide, through the vast reach and scope that Coursera provides to us, etc. Throughout all of this, I'm going to kind of use a traditional lecture as kind of like the framework for the discussion, but again, don't feel even limited to that. It's just the one mode of delivery of information that I think we can all relate to. So that's just going to be my baseline, but I put that caveat out there just to say that we don't have to feel limited to that in any way. And if you have questions along the way, by all means, those who are watching the webinar without participating via the webcam, you should be able to comment on the page that you're seeing right now, and I'll be able to get it one way or the other. So, and of course, if you are here, just say something. Good. All right, so as Colleen alluded to, you are supported by a very large team. We have at least 15 people working on this project that will be working on some aspect of your involvement in the course. So, for example, an instructional designer. I'll talk a little bit more about what I'll do later. Colleen, in her company, obviously they do some of the video recording. So if you are local, guess what? It's a little easier for you. We'll talk about the details if you're not local too. In terms of them being able to record, edit, research graphics, do some photoshopping type stuff, clearing copyrights, putting text on the screen in the terms of the course platform itself, integrating the content into the course, copy editing everything, making sure that all the quality is there that we expect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully what you feel that the same way that other instructors have felt through this process, that you're really surrounded by an entire team, an entire family of people that are looking out for your best interests in making you look good on screen and your content present well to the MOOC students. And you're not in this alone. We've got a lot of people who pour hours and hours and hours into this stuff to make this a successful project. So like I said, fundamentally we want to make this as easy as possible for you, and to that end, we recognize that we're still asking for you to do work. Don't get me wrong, but hopefully it's relatively lightweight by comparison to developing an entire online course. Because fundamentally what we need from you is a recording, okay? A video of you presenting your material. And again, whether that's a lecture format or a roundtable discussion with students or interviews with experts or whatever, the point is we're looking for a video file. Now, we will take that video file and polish it, add graphics to it, do some editing to cut out pieces, what have you. So we'll do that part on the back end. But the video is the main thing that we need from you. And in order to get to that point, we need one other thing, or a couple other things before that, and that is a sense of what you intend to put into that video in terms of like the poems that you're interested in using, because we have a lot of care that we put into taking care of copyright issues. And we have a team of experts that can help navigate that area. And so part of the early conversation and back and forth is just figuring out what it is that you want to put into the videos. We'll have the actual video itself, and then also an assessment, like maybe a quiz or something along those lines. So those are the main things that we're looking to get from you. And again, this process is to guide you through that as painlessly as possible. As far as the course is concerned, just so that you have a bit better context, like I said, 20-some instructors covering a range of topics regarding American poetry from 1899 to the present. And the course is comprised of 8 weeks. This is the format that we use for many of our other online courses, both traditional online and MOOCs. And so we've organized the content around 8 weeks. Each week covers 3 or 4, maybe in one case 5 different topics. And I'll actually send out an outline, if you will, of the course in terms of who's currently slated to talk about what topics, just so that you can see where your piece fits into the larger organization of the course. The way we're visioning it right now is that each lecture would, I'm going to call it a lecture, but again, that's a placeholder for however you're delivering this. Each lecture would be somewhere in the order of 30 to 45, maybe 60 minutes in total content, but that segment of time would be broken down into smaller pieces ideally. There's a lot of research about online education that suggests that anything longer than 10 minutes tends to be ignored by the students. And so what we recommend are 6 to 10 minute chunks. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to use the term chunks. I'm going to call them micro lectures. 6 to 10 minute micro lectures. You can have multiple of those working together in concert to deliver your total content. And we can help you conceptualize how you might break that apart. But that's kind of the target. And admittedly, your situation might dictate something a little bit differently, but in the back of your mind, that's kind of what we're hoping for, and again, we can work with you around that. So each of these topics, again, 4 about topics per week. Your one topic is then broken up into these 6 to 10 minute micro lectures. Again, shooting for 30, 45, maybe 60 minutes on the outset. I realize that's a real challenge. That's a very short amount of time, but I think you'll find through the magic of editing and some of the other enhancements that online brings to a course that you can cover more than you think in 30 minutes. In addition, each of these topics, the 4 topics per week, would be accompanied by some sort of an assessment, a quiz or otherwise. I'll talk about that more in a little bit detail. So you can imagine how the students are navigating through this. They're going through the 8 weeks. Each week they're going through the 4 topics. Each topic they're going through a series of lectures and some kind of an assessment. That's the basic experience for these students. That said, we also wrap the courses with some additional interactive features, such as social networking. We'll create, for example, a Facebook page. The students seem to create that on their own if we don't do it for them, so we'll play a game and create a space for them to talk about whatever is interesting to them regarding poetry as well. So there's some other pieces to the course, but that's the main gist of it, if that makes sense. Are there any questions about kind of like the context of where this sits before we dive into the process?
I'm wondering what divides the micro lectures.
Well, mechanically, if that's what you mean, the student experience is we would bring them to a page in the course that summarizes, for example, your topic. Now, I would recommend, for example, maybe having like a little 1-paragraph summary of what you're going to talk about. And then usually we have a table below that that has each of the micro lectures listed. It's helpful to think of the micro lectures as being somewhat independent from one another, because what we have found in Coursera is that students certainly don't watch everything. They don't watch the first lecture followed by the second lecture followed by the third. They don't watch them from beginning to end. You know, they're cherry picking, right? the vast majority of these students are only watching the portions of the video that seem to be most interesting to them. So to the extent possible, and I recognize it's not always possible, it's nice to design these micro lectures as self-contained units. That might mean recapping a couple of fundamental ideas or a couple of key historical points at the beginning of each micro lecture before moving on. But I think that will help students get more out of these micro lectures in the long run. Mm-hmm.
So another thing to keep in mind is when you're working with a MOOC audience, it's a totally different demographic than what you would find in your face-to-face classrooms. So a lot of times people might have only a couple nights a week, or they have to put the kids to bed, or they have to make dinner, or they have their job. So what might happen is they watch, the first lecture or the first 2 lectures and then come back a couple days later to watch the remainder. And so as much as you can put your content into separate modules that have, again, like a beginning, middle, and end, the more digestible it is for the students as they're putting together different things. So, I mean, one way to think about that would be like a compilation of different articles or poems, so maybe each chapter separately, where they do relate to each other, but again, like consolidating all of those points into one place, it's really helpful for an audience that is not required to sit for a specific amount of time on certain days of the week.
Mm-hmm. Good. I was going to add something to that, but I forget what it was now. Ah, well, it'll come back to me. All right, so that's kind of the context of where we're coming from, and now what we'd like to talk about is just kind of the process, kind of the baseline process for how to get us from where we are now to where we're going. And I think the first step in that process is just getting everyone together in this way, so we can check a box that we've all had a chance to talk about this a little bit, kind of wrap our minds around what does this thing look like, where does my piece fit into it a little bit better, etc. So you've already taken the first step merely by attending live or watching this after the fact. So that's really good. Another procedural part is we do have a contract for you just to make sure that everybody's clear on what the responsibilities are and everything from there. I have received a copy of the contract from our legal counsel here, and it's currently being reviewed by Carrie and others. So as soon as I have his final blessing on it, I'll pass that along. Just to explain what it says, and I am not a lawyer, I don't play one on TV, and I don't play one on Coursera, but it's basically saying, especially for those who are not local, but you'll see where it applies to you anyway, any of the video content that you create, that you record on your own, that is your content. I mean, we're not claiming ownership over that or anything like that. When you send us a copy of that file, you're giving us permission to incorporate that file into the course. Again, very naturally and logically there. When we take that file, I explained how we have a dozen or more staff who are going to manipulate that file and enhance that file and integrate that file into the course. And at that point, that's where Illinois claims ownership over that part of it, that we can use that piece of material that we've edited, that we've enhanced, and use it in the course. So you're still more than welcome to use your recording. You're definitely welcome to, and encouraged to, I would say, link students to the Coursera course so that they can see the fully edited file and all of the other instructors that are working together on this. And yeah, I think those are the main points about it. So fundamentally, we're trying to just lay things out so it's really crystal clear, so that there's no questions later.
Can I jump in?
Mm-hmm.
So one word that Jason used that I think might make people a little worried is when we say manipulate the file.
Yeah.
What Jason means by manipulate
Thank you.
is that we're editing. So we're a production team. So we have copyright experts, library specialists, we bring in archival content, we have editors, graphic designers, people who do visualizations. So our goal, we're not trying to change the content in the least. So maybe you're on camera and you say a whole bunch or stop to think about something. What we'd be cutting out is that kind of stuff. So it's not in any way to change the tone or the meaning of it or anything. It's I've got really talented people that I work with that make everything I do look better. And I suspect you guys would probably also like that courtesy. So just to give a little bit of clarification, we're not trying to do anything crazy with any of your content. It's to make the video, again, more polished, professional, clean up audio, that sort of thing.
Important clarification, thank you. All right, so again, I'll send that out soon. I don't know exactly when Kerry will have a chance when he gets back to look at it and everything. I will just add that the contract was adapted from one that's been employed by a couple of other large universities who are partnering with Coursera as well, and so it's written with faculty in mind. It's written with faculty language, if you will, in contrast to the original contract that we got from Coursera that was written with Coursera in mind. So hopefully this will be a much more agreeable solution than we might have otherwise had. So another early step in the process is to identify what you intend to do in your recording, and especially in terms of copyright and media needs. As I alluded to earlier, MOOCs are a little bit of a different animal when it comes to copyright than perhaps in a face-to-face classroom, where educational fair use is often employed as a way to use copyrighted works in the classroom, and that's perfectly fine. In the MOOC context, we don't have that as an option, or it's a much harder sell to use that as an option. So there are a number of guidelines, there are a number of exceptions, and there's certainly no rule of thumb. So bottom line is, if you want to use something, if you want to use a poem, I assume you do. If you want to incorporate a graphic, and that would be fine too. Just make sure to let us know early on in the process what you're thinking about, so that we can vet that for you and let you know what is doable, what is usable, and what is not. When it comes to, say, poems and poets, what I would suggest is send us an early list of all of them that you're thinking about, all the poets that you're thinking about, because we can probably look up and be able to tell you, this poet is easy. We can definitely find materials from this poet that we can use. This other one, for various circumstances we could explain, might be more challenging. So we want to inform you early before you design your whole lecture around an assumption that you can use a certain piece of poetry. And then same thing with media. If you know that there's a newspaper photo, front page photo that's perfect for illustrating your point, let us know that. If you know you're looking for a general picture of the Great Depression, let us know that too. In the case of very specific ones, we'll look into it and let you know. In the case of general ideas, we'll do the research for you and try to find some suggestions, pass them by you to make sure that they're okay, and then incorporate that. So we're happy to do as much of the heavy lifting in that regard as possible to help you out. Just let us know where you are. If you have specific ideas or just general ideas, either way, let us know so that we can work that out for you. So what we should ultimately be able to provide for you is kind of like a thumbs up, green light checklist of, here are, at the end of the day, after some back and forth, here are the specific poems that everybody agrees are okay to use, the ones that you want to use. Here are the imagery or other forms of media that we want to incorporate, so that you know what's going on. There's no surprises in the long run. You have a very clear list of what's going on. Another piece that we want to put in place before recording the lecture, once we have like all the media and everything, is it's very useful for you to have someone local that can help you. Now again, if you are local, we have local people who can help you. You're covered. But if not, what we'd encourage you to do is to look around on your campus or talk to people that you know who might be able to help you with some of the technical parts of recording. Now we have a number of solutions, a number of ways to support you in this, so don't freak out yet. But we hope that you'll be able to talk to a media unit on your campus, or maybe an IT unit on your campus. Find someone who has some tech savvy who can help you out. Now we're not looking for someone who can dedicate hours and hours to editing, because again, we'll do that. We're really looking for someone who can ease your anxieties about starting a camera, recording things, getting you situated, making you feel comfortable in your office or wherever you're recording this. Hopefully it's a relatively minimal investment of their time, but it'll go a long way towards making you feel comfortable when you're recording things. So if you know of someone, great. Let me know. We'll work with that person to kind of iron out some details. If you don't know of someone, great. Let me know, and we will look for you. Colleen's group has a lot of people who come from all over who have experience in the industry, and they very well may be able to tell you, hey, if we worked with so-and-so on your campus that you never met before, we'll put you in touch. Another option could be that we hire out the work to a local firm that does this sort of work in your community. We also are exploring having these portable kits that we can send out to you if technology is a limiting factor. So bottom line is just let me know where you are, where you're coming from, so that we can come up with a solution that meets your specific needs. All right. So you'll let us know kind of where you're thinking of coming from in terms of content and copyright issues. Let us know what support you might have from a technical perspective, and then what we'll do is we'll take those two elements and merge them together in a pre-production meeting. This would be a one-on-one or really a team-on-one meeting in which we'll meet with you individually and the technical person. We'll meet with people on our side, including the copyright, just to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and we know what to expect coming out of your recording session. So we'll set that up on an individual basis. We'll also cover some of the technical details with your technical person with regards to recording and sending us files and so forth. And still before you record, one last piece that I think is important to consider are the assessments. So if you think of it in a simplistic term of quiz questions, if you were to have a multiple choice quiz question, it's good to know what question you would ask before recording your lecture so that you can make double sure that you covered the necessary content in your lecture that you're going to ask a quiz question about. Okay? I also say quiz question in the same way that I say lecture. That's just a baseline for conversation. There may be other ideas that you have on how we can assess students on this content, and that's a conversation that I look forward to having with you. But again, as a baseline, I'm just referring to quizzes. I will forewarn you that there are only two real options for assessment in Coursera. Now, we can be creative with those two options, but they are quizzes, multiple choice. You could have like fill in the blank, but that's kind of dangerous. You could imagine like British versus American spelling of certain words can get tricky, etc. But fundamentally, multiple choice quiz questions is one assessment tool that Coursera provides to us. The other assessment tool is that of peer assessment, which if you're not familiar with it, is fundamentally the student creates a work, let's just say, again as a baseline term, a one-page Word document, submits that work, and so Coursera's platform then distributes a copy of that to each of, say, 4 different peer reviewers. Those peer reviewers then take a look at that work, measure it against a rubric, like a checklist, that we would develop and provide to those students, and they would develop a score based on that rubric. And then Coursera takes all those scores, basically averages them together, actually takes the median, and that becomes the student's score. So those are the two fundamental tools, quizzes and peer assessments. A word of caution about peer assessments is they do require more time on the part of the student. You might think a one-page essay should only take them an hour or two to develop. That's true, but then it's going to take them maybe a half an hour or so per paper that they're reviewing to do the peer review. So there's some extra overhead involved in doing a peer assessment. Not to say that we can't do it, but I would also get a little nervous if all 20 instructors wanted to do peer assessment for their lectures. So again, just let me know what you're thinking of, what you think would be a good fit for your content, and then we'll work that out. But quizzes is kind of the baseline. Carrie is very comfortable with the majority of people using quizzes, even if it's not the most engaging. It's something that we can do in the Coursera environment. And then maybe possibly 3 or 4 instructors could work together to create one peer assessment over all 4 of their topics, for example. Maybe those are 4 topics in 4 subsequent weeks. Maybe those are 4 topics all in the same week. We'll try to work together to come up with a plan that is good for the student. That's kind of the bottom line. Okay, so with all the copyright issues taken care of, with the technical person in place, with your assessment strategies in place, and a pre-production meeting, then you get to have fun and record. Okay? Again, by this point, I would say a lot of the hard work is done, and it should be fairly straightforward. But admittedly, that's going to take an amount of time. Again, if we're targeting that 30 to 45, maybe 60 minutes of total final lecture content, You might be recording for longer than that, because as Colleen mentioned, we can edit out some ums and ahs, but it's also good to do the 6 to 10 minute chunk micro lecture, because if you make a really, really bad mistake and you want to start over, you only have to go back to that 6 to 10 minute mark. You don't have to go back an hour into your recording to start things over. So another reason to consider the 6 to 10 minute setting.
And you also get a break.
And you get breaks and mental refresh. You could do it over a couple of days. There's just a lot of benefits to doing it this way. It may be a little challenging in advance to think through how would I do something in just a small piece, but it can be done and it works very well. So at that point, you're pretty much done. You or probably your technical person will send us the file via means that we'll describe later, and we'll take it from there. We will do all of the editing that we described, make double check again on all the copyright concerns, and throw up a final file for you to review just to make sure that we haven't completely botched it. At this point, we will have already done an internal quality control on the video just to make sure that all the spelling is correct, etc. So hopefully all you will need to do is be able to say, yes, this is the message I intended to convey, or you know what, you deleted a really important sentence here and it really changes the meaning of the content. Can you add that back in? We hope it's as simple as that for you. Once we have the approval from you to incorporate that video into the course, we'll take care of the mechanics of doing that. Same thing with the assessment as well. And then you can just sit back and relax until a little bit later on when the course is about to start. As far as the running of the course is concerned, we will notify you about the start date for the course. Tentatively, we're looking at doing this in the spring of 2015. My guess is February-ish, but we'll let you know as that unfolds. Kind of depends somewhat on how quickly we can get 20 people to work through this process, which I admit is going to take some time. When we know that start date, we'll post it on Coursera. It'll start accepting enrollments. We'll let you know so that you can let your students or colleagues or other people who might be interested in this course know about it as well. We'll get probably in the range of 5,000 to 50,000 people sign up for the course, and then we'll run the course. Now, when we run the course, you are not in any way obligated to participate. We recognize that you've provided us a lot of your time already in producing, in developing this video and the assessments. So at that point, we're just letting you know how things are going. You are welcome to participate, especially during the week of the course that highlights your material. I think it would be really awesome for the students to be able to see you interacting with them in, say, the discussion forums. But really, at the end of the day, no pressure to do that whatsoever. If you are interested in participating more fully, let me know and I can give you some suggestions on specific ways to maximize the usefulness of your time in that regard, but we're not going to assume that you are. And then afterwards, as we collect feedback about the course, and I'll tell you, we will collect a lot of feedback about the course. I'll be sure to route whatever seems most relevant to you about your particular piece of content. I'll tell you just briefly that we get a lot of very heartfelt stories from these students as the course is wrapping up. We offer them both a discussion forum where they can just share their parting thoughts, and we also follow up with a post-course survey where we ask questions like, what was the most useful thing that you got out of this course? And we learn so much from that, and there's just some really, really neat and powerful stories behind each of those 5,000 to 50,000 people who are taking this course. So don't know exactly what it'll look like yet, but I will seek to share with all of you kind of like a synopsis of the feedback and any specific feedback related to your topic once we get that data. All right, are there any questions about the process that I outlined? You guys are making this too easy. Okay. Well then, actually, I'm to the point where I want to start just summarizing where we are at this point. We've gone through the outline, and I've told you what some of the key pieces of information that I need from you are, namely identifying someone on your campus or someone you know who you could work with on the technical side of things, and sending me your preliminary thoughts, at least, about what the content of your recording might be, and that would include any poem or poets that you're thinking of referencing, a few bullet points really of an outline, just so I have a better context or understanding. I know the title, but for me to understand it a little bit better. And then any thoughts you have regarding the style. Are you thinking a lecture, as we saw with Carrie's example? Are you thinking something else? Just so I can start wrapping my mind around what you're starting to wrap your mind around. So those are your two homework assignments, if you will, is to start providing me with that information. On my side, I've actually already written this email, so my homework will only take about 30 seconds. I will send you here very shortly an email that contains the one-page summary of everything that we talked about today from a process perspective. It'll also contain a one-page summary regarding the use of media and some of the copyright concerns that I talked about here today also. I'll send you a recording to the webinar from last week, covered exact same content there. And as soon as I have it available, I'll send you an instructor contract that will eventually need signed. And then I'll also send you that's the list of everyone who's involved in this course and the topics in the course, so that again you have that picture of what all is being covered and where you fit within that larger picture. So that's my homework assignment. Again, I've already have it pre-queued, and I'll hit send here in just a moment, and you'll have it. I don't want to inundate you with too much this morning, so I separated that out. You have your homework assignments, but if you have any questions whatsoever throughout any part of this process, let me know. Our goal as a whole is to make you look good, and my goal individually is to facilitate that by answering any questions you have or putting you in contact with the people who can answer those questions. So by all means, feel free to let me know.
Add one more thing. One other thing that I was going to add, just that we've learned from our experience, is the actual giving the lecture itself is such a small amount of time compared to preparing for the presentation. So most of the time that I imagine you'll be spending in our team too, once we have the list of poems, again, like, do we need to search for historical images that are related to that content? What do we need in order to prepare for it? So I would spend as much of your time as possible as, again, identifying, what poems do you plan on using? Are there other elements that you're really interested in? For example, do you want an interpretive dance to go along with the poem that you're selecting? That's fine, we'll do it. Just give us a heads up on what components we might want to begin collecting for you, and that'll make the post-production, the editing, and just kind of wrapping everything up go a lot more quickly.
Great. Karen, any questions on your end?
I'm a little bit confused about the tech person at my home university, just because I know so little about it. So at first it sounded like I needed somebody who could do the video taping, the recording, and then it sounded more like a typical department IT tech support person who could send you the files. So I guess some clarification about whom I should be asking.
Yeah.
Well, our first goal is, if there's a video person on your campus, let's use them. They're going to give you better lighting and kind of set everything up and make it a little bit easier for you. Worst case scenario, maybe there isn't anybody in your area, maybe at your university or even in the community, that does video. That happens. And so then what our next suggestion would be, again, finding an IT person on your campus that can kind of help you. So in that sort of scenario, what we might do is we might send a kit that would include like a camera, a light, a microphone, and then just having somebody to help get all of that set up for you. Again, it's not that our faculty from our experience are not tech savvy, quite the opposite, but just, again, having somebody else who can like mess around with all of the details so that you can focus just on the content, because that's what our role is in all of the development of these courses. It's not that somebody couldn't spend the time to do all of this on their own, it's that we aren't content experts. You guys are. We want to make sure as much of your time is spent just focusing on the content portion of it. So if you don't have anybody on your campus that can do video, our next backup would probably be, we would probably just want to touch base with somebody in an IT unit so they can help set up, the camera to record it and all of that stuff. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, including those who we don't know who you are, but we know you're watching. like I said, if you have any questions whatsoever along the way, by all means, just shoot me an email, call me, anything. I'm here to help you. We're all here to help you, and we want to make this as successful a course as possible. I know we're all really excited about it because of the ways in which this is going to be so innovative and groundbreaking compared to some of the other courses that we've done. So this is going to be a very exciting project for us, and we hope that you're able to enjoy the process as well. So. Cool. All right. Well, thank you all, and we'll be in touch more. I'll send an email very shortly to you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yay. That was great.